Let's not meet.
Story 1. Open the door, please, come out. This story happened a few years ago. I was in my early 20s and was studying in Paris, France. I was going home from uni. I usually took a short bus ride and walked the rest of the way. That day, I felt slightly uncomfortable. I could sense some guy looking intensely at me. I was used to unpleasant unsolicited gazes, but this time, his gaze felt beastly. It's hard to explain why, but I felt like prey being stalked. I decided to get off the bus a few stops early. I wanted to avoid him and didn't want him to see where I usually got off, like I learned in the movies. I waited until someone else pressed the stop button and waited until the last moment to stand up and leave. I didn't notice him getting off the bus. Just as I was feeling the relief of having escaped an uncomfortable situation, I looked over my shoulder, and there he was, a few meters behind. I had the distressing feeling his eye had just looked away the moment I turned. I walked into a shop, took my phone and pretended to be taking a call. When I couldn't see him anymore, I exited and made my way home as fast as I could. I kept looking back in the busy street. I zigzagged and crossed the street at every crossing. Finally, I believed that his getting off at the same stop as I was just a coincidence. When I reached my building, I looked back one last time, and there he was, his alarming gaze on me, smirking. I ran up to my apartment, climbing the stairs 4 at a time. I reached the top floor, squeezed through my door, locked it, and froze. My intercom was ringing. Don't ask me why I picked it up. I regretted it the moment I did. I could hear the opposite flat intercom ringing as well. He had pressed all the buttons one by one, hoping someone would open them. But now, he knew my name. Gabrielle? Oh shit. I felt like a deer in the headlights. Frozen. Open the door, please, said a pleading voice. I just want to talk to you. Somehow I couldn't move or speak. Come to the window, he added. Look at me. You'll see, I am not a bad guy. Something clicked. He wanted to locate my apartment in the building. I was not going to make that mistake. I hung up, in shock. I waited by the door without moving for what seemed hours. When I finally managed to calm myself, I called my long-distance boyfriend. Call the police, he said immediately. Why didn't I call the police? I don't know. Today, it would be the first thing I would do. The fear of making a big deal out of something not important perhaps. What an idiot I was. I called my best friend instead. I didn't want to feel alone. I told her all about it and after a while, I felt better, safe. We started laughing. Suddenly the intercom rang again. 2 hours had passed since I'd come home. I answered. Gabrielle, said the voice. Open, please. I still remember the chills I felt. He was still there. He was there all of this time. I was silent, petrified. He was silent but I could sense his trepidation. Gabrielle, let me in. I am so thirsty, he said. Just give me a glass of water. This broke the tension. I hung up, curled up in a corner, literally in a recovery position, terrified. I waited. I was scared to make a sound. I knew he couldn't hear me from the hall but I was scared to even breathe. The intercom rang again, and again. I didn't answer this time. I crouched to the sofa and fell asleep in exhaustion. I heard the intercom ring one more time in the middle of the night. I woke up in the morning, afraid to leave my apartment. I called my dad, who came to pick me up. There was no one in the hall but there was a note in my mailbox. Gabrielle, I am a nice guy. You should have opened to me. We immediately went to the nearest police station. The police listened and of course, told me that I should not hesitate to call them. My dad called a locksmith to install a digit code on the building door the same day and wrote a message to each of my neighbors asking them to not open the door to anyone they didn't expect. He sat in the cafe tilde copyright in front of my building with 2 friends every evening for more than a week. I never saw the stalker again. After this episode, I used a different route to and from uni every day. I kept my phone tightly in my hand and looked back every few meters. Today I am still very observant of my surroundings. I never answer the door if I am not expecting someone. So, people, if you ever find yourself in any kind of uncomfortable situation, call the police. Don't be an idiot like me. Be safe everyone. Story 2. I am confident I would have become a missing person case. Edit. I give full permission to use my experience in any way. Please don't ask anymore. I give credit or don't. I apologize in advance since I'm not a good writer, but I'll do my best to share my experience. To better paint the picture, here is a description of myself at the time of this incident. 3 years ago, 5'5", 26-year-old woman, medium-length bleach blonde hair, curvy 175 pounds, wearing black high-waisted tights and a pink crop top. 3 years ago I was walking home late at night from my friend's house. It was dark and at the time I lived in a rough part of a large city. I've had many sketchy situations that I have gotten myself out of, so I guess I felt sort of invincible, like nothing truly scary could happen to me. When I walk alone I always stay very alert and aware of my surroundings for my safety just in case. About halfway home and roughly 10 minutes to my apartment I noticed a van started tailing me. I was used to this since in my city it's very common for a young woman in a rough area to get propositioned for sex. It's embarrassing how desensitized to this I was. I did my usual and crossed the road so that I would be walking beside the traffic heading in the other direction. I wasn't scared, just annoyed. The van then turned down a side street then back onto the road I was on and pulled up to me. At this point, I still wasn't scared. Again, this has happened so many times and it never mattered if I was wearing something that showed more skin, or if I was wearing a winter coat zipped from just below my chin down to my ankles. That area is notorious for that type of activity. I decided to be firm and told the person sternly I'm not interested. I noticed there were 2 men in the van. They looked almost identical and may have been twins or brothers. Both men had a very dark complexion, dark eyes and short dark hair. The van didn't move. I was super annoyed and crossed the road again to get away. At this point, I figured this would be enough for them to stop following me. They didn't. They kept circling back every time I crossed the road. I've never had to put that much effort into getting a horny pervert to leave me alone, so this is when I started feeling unsafe. They zipped by me at the speed the traffic was flowing in and I yelled for them to fuck off. I thought it finally worked. It had been 3 minutes and I hadn't seen the van, so I thought I was in the clear. Just in case, I pulled my phone out and was getting ready to call my sister whom I lived with. Just then, the van pulled up to me very quickly and before I could even blink one of the men jumped out of the van, opened the back door and approached me quickly in an aggressive manner as if he was about to scoop me up and throw me into the vehicle. The traffic in that area is very inconsistent. It was dead and I imagined that is what they were waiting for. Just as the man was about to place his hands on me, I tilted my phone and said, "You're being filmed in my live video chat." I gave my friends your license plate number and the police have been notified. I was so scared but I didn't let that show. I stayed as calm as I could. The man paused like he was considering if I was bluffing or telling the truth, so I tilted the phone more as if to give the fake audience a better look at him. He then jumped into the van and they sped off. I have never been the same since that night. I'm afraid of walking alone now even in the daytime. Stay safe out there, 2 creeps in a van. Let's not ever meet. I hope karma finds you both soon.
Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and comments to let me know if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more upcoming videos.